Welcome back to 651 Customs. In this episode, we're going to take this 73 F100 and put an EFI motor in it. Right now I'm working on pulling out the 351 Windsor, and once we get that out, we can get the EFI motor out of the 85 truck. I'm going to try and retain the factory EFI and throw in this thing and see how that does. So it'll be an interesting, fun process. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm just disconnecting everything so far. I've went ahead and just took the radiator out, got the fan off of it, got the power steering pump out of the way. I've got the motor plate on there, got the starter taken off, got a couple of things left to do. I'm going to try and pull the transmission with it, so I wanted to take everything off to get this big open space. I've drained the coolant. Now the reason and the issue with this motor is, not sure if you can hear that clunk, but yeah, this one's got a knock. So I'm going to pull this out, get the EFI 302 in it. Now unfortunately, this is a 351 Windsor, so I'll probably end up trying to rebuild it one of these days. But for now, I'm going to take a good motor and put in it, just so I can have this thing on the road and drivable. So I'm going to go ahead and keep pulling stuff off. I've got to disconnect the transmission and all that stuff, and then get the engine hoist over here. So I'm going to do that, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, I went ahead and moved the truck up here to the junkyard, where I'm going to go ahead and pull the engine out of it. I've got everything disconnected. Went ahead and got the transmission mount disconnected, got the shift linkage stuff. I think this was a car motor trans, because the transmission has a different, like the shift lever wasn't right when I tested it, when we had this thing running. So anyway, got some stuff disconnected. Going to get this thing out of here, and I've got it close to the donor truck. So this is an 85, that one's a 73. I'm going to try and use the fuel injection stuff, I think, but I've also got a 2-barrel intake, steel intake, or a cast iron intake. I really don't want to use that because this thing flows better, and the EFI is just nice to have, easy starting, no matter when, what time of year, nothing, just fire it up. So hopefully the EFI works out for me. If you watched my last video, I got my Jeeper running, so hopefully I can get this thing running on the EFI system as well. So this one's a little bit different. The one I pulled the Jeep motor out of was a 94. This one is an 85, so that's almost 10 years. Okay, now that I'm getting to look at this thing, it might be harder than I thought to swap this into the old truck. I've got the harness here. I've got to look and see where the computer is, because on the later 90 ones, or the 80 something, later 80s and up, have the computer mounted down here, and this one does not. A little bit different cab, but I should still be able to easily take this harness out and just take out what I need for the EFI stuff and make it run with the 73. We'll just have to see how the wiring's laid out. Alright, I'm just looking this thing over, seeing what's different between the 94 motor I just worked on and the 85. The harness is different, a couple things. For the most part, it's very similar. They didn't change much between those years. It's like a 9-year gap though, so a lot of things. I'm going to take the smog pump off. This is all V-belt drive, which is nice. Keep it classic, you know. So no serpentine, which serpentines are good, but V-belts are just classic. So we'll keep that. I may put the 2-barrel intake on it if the EFI doesn't work out. I'm going to mate this thing to a C4. This has an AOD in it, and I'd rather have the C4, to be honest. So we're going to make that up. A lot of things I got to see, just kind of look around, find out how things are routed mainly, and then I can decide how to put them onto the new truck. You'll notice there are some missing parts. I had to borrow some for another truck I was fixing up a while back, but we'll get all that put back on. I've got to just look through here real quick and see what's what, and then I'm going to start taking it apart, disconnecting things, and get it ready to go into the other truck, which is sitting over there. So, be right back. Alright, I got the engine out, and I forgot to record. Not much really to it. When I took everything apart, I took the manifolds off. All the bolts came loose, no problem. And lifted it up over the cross member, the mount there, and then just slid it right out. Came out pretty easy. I've got to get the other engine out, get it prepped to go in. Alright, I'm in the process of taking things off of this engine to get it pulled out of here. Got the computer disconnected. Plug comes to the firewall right there on these 85 models. I just disconnected the coolant, and with the lower radiator hose for the coolant, and not a drop of coolant came out. Like, it was bone dry. It doesn't look too bad in the hoses, but the fact that it was bone dry is concerning. So we'll just have to get this thing running in the other truck and see how it does. I gotta find out where that coolant went, because that doesn't make sense. It should have been completely full. Hopefully this thing's not frozen because somebody put straight water in it, but we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised because of the state of the rest of the truck. So, alright, I got this thing ready to come out of here. The donor engine for the 73. Got my chain and everything hooked up. Didn't bother filming because it's just a lot of disconnecting things and be pretty boring. Had a lot of distractions. Didn't really feel like time lapsing it, but I will film putting it in the 73. So, but if you can't pull an engine, then I mean, should you really be doing this? I don't know. Okay, got the engine pulled out of this one here, the 85 bullnose. I've got a big project coming up with this one, and it involves a diesel engine. So we'll get to that video eventually, but for now I'm gonna get it into the 73 over there. So we got the engine out, and I was just looking at it. I was gonna put a starter on it, see if it spins over, and see just how it sounds when it spins over, to make sure it's good. They put the wrong starter on it. They had a manual starter, and it's automatic, of course. So I've got the right starter. I was putting it on, and then I start looking and I see that. So I don't know what to say. It didn't have coolant in it when I pulled it, and it looked very watery what came out. So did they freeze it? Did they overheat it? I don't know. But this is why you use coolant instead of water. So I'm not even gonna bother trying to turn it over and see what happens, because it's most likely bad. So that was a lot of work for probably a bad engine. I'll just have to rebuild the other one I've got. So this is now a parts engine. So that's great. If it's bad, I'm sure it is bad, considering a freeze plug is missing, and it's probably been, if it did run, they overheated it, and if they didn't overheat it, they tore the flywheel up with the manual starter. And if that still works, then I'll be surprised. I guess I'll try it anyway, though. We'll see what happens. Okay, I took the starter off, and I am cleaning up this freeze plug. As you can see, I've got it pretty nice and clean. All I did is took my little wire wheel and went over it, and then I wrapped it in some sandpaper, 220 grit, and now it's nice and clean in there. So I think I'm going to put some silicone around the plug when I tap it in, just a little bit, not too much. Don't want to like fill the coolant system with pieces of silicone. So I'll put a little bit of silicone on there and tap that plug in, and hopefully this block isn't destroyed. So let's get that done. Okay, this is what I'm using, the right stuff. You can tell it's the right stuff because it says right on it. So I'm just gonna put just the tiniest amount around my hole, just a little layer in there, just enough. And we'll get that plug tapped in. Hopefully this block's not cracked. I'm really praying right now it's not. I've also got to get some spark plugs in this thing because we destroyed them getting this engine out of that truck. But hopefully it'll go in a little bit more gentler. I was just kind of in a hurry to get things done because trying to get progress on things, and you get in a hurry, you know. But get this done, get this engine in, and hopefully it works out for us. Alright, just like that, I've got this thing tapped in there. So we'll get this engine up on the stand, and I've got to figure out if I want to use the tractor or not. That's how we pulled it. Put some hooks on the tractor bucket, and we hooked the chain up and then lifted it up, and yeah, it was a mess, but see if I can get it on the engine hoist and do it a little bit cleaner this time. Alright, there it is. An EFI motor in a 73 F100. Now that's done, got to get the engine mount, transmission mount and stuff bolted down, tightened up, and then start connecting lines and whatnot. Fits in there pretty good, doesn't it? It is a Ford motor, 302, so naturally it fits right at home. Only thing different is the EFI stuff. And this is an 85, so it's got the electronic fuel injection intake, and it's pretty good. I mean, there's plenty of room there. You can see that somebody's modified this airbox. I may delete this airbox because it's been bubbled up, as you can see by that Bubba Cola patch job. So it's in there. Next step is tightening everything down. Probably gonna slap the hood on for the night and come back tomorrow and get some stuff done on it, wired and whatnot. So I'll see you then. Okay, here's a view from underneath. We've got transmission, broken seal, I have to replace that, and that may look similar to a C4, but that is in fact an AOD, and you can tell because the way that the metric on the pan says metric. So that is an AOD, in a 73. So that's pretty cool. Let's put a bolt in it. And there we go. Get that tightened down. And it'll be in there. Okay, I have spent an entire day going through the wiring harness. That's what I've got here. I highlighted a lot of circuits. Went through, just kind of looked for what I need. When I did the Cherokee engine swap, I didn't have this. So I wanted to take full advantage of everything. It's kind of a mess, but I understand what I'm looking at now, so I'm gonna use this to adapt the 85 engine and harness to the 73. So I'm going to do some wiring stuff, and I'll just show you as I go along here what I'm doing. First thing I'm gonna do is figure out which one of these to switch, because I know that I need power to power some things, turn things on and whatnot. So figure those out. That's like the main, that's where everything goes through. That's the main connectors there. Got to get my alternator fixed up and run into the 73 system. So I'm gonna get that all sorted, and I'll show you what connections need to be made. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled the harness out of the off the engine. So I've got a lot of wires that are bare like this, and I've got some old harnesses that I pulled apart from other trucks. So the connector may be the wrong color, however it's the right size and it's the right wire colors. So I'm just gonna see if I can splice some of these together and make it work. Have to dig through my old harnesses. I'm going to use these little butt connectors and some heat shrink. So that should make a pretty sturdy waterproof connection. So I'm gonna go through this thing and do that. There's a couple here. I've got to find out what stuff does while I do it, because I might delete some things. But I'm just gonna go through, clean this thing up, because it is a mess. Corrosion and just all those little connections in it are just falling apart. So I'm going to see what I can get fixed on here, and I'll come back to you when it's finished. Alright, I went ahead and got this one done, put a new end on it. This other end, I didn't have the wire I needed, or the connector I needed, so we're just gonna have to make do. I just taped up the bare wire the best I could, so should be good enough. Right now I'm depinning the cool connector, so I can put, as you can see there, it's bare. It's about to break. So to depin these, there's a little clip in there. So that's what the connector looks like. So if you look at the end of the connector there and the hole it goes in, you can see a little clip, a little thing sticking out there. And if you push that thing back, it will release the connector out. So just gotta stick the little screwdriver in there like that. Okay, so you just stick the screwdriver in like that, and if you pry on one side of it, the connector slides right out. And that little clip is right there. So it's that easy. I'm going to repin this with a better set of wires from a different harness, and get this thing reattached, taped up. Alright, I got this, got the cool connector repinned with new wires. I just used an old wire off the old harness. That way I could splice it back here and maintain the right type of connector. But that's my little crimp. And I even color matched the shrink wrap, so that's good. I'm going to get that heated up with a lighter, and that's how I'll be doing all the repairs in this harness. So, or for most of the repairs that I can. Anything else, if I can't fix it, I'll tape it. If I can't tape it, at that point, I don't know what I'll do. I've got to figure out what this thing does. I'm pretty sure that's oil pressure. It's a little rough, so we'll get that fixed and keep moving along here. Okay, I went through yesterday evening and got all the exposed wires replaced or taped up. This was a bad one here. The only thing I have left to do is on the solenoids. I believe the black plug is my EGR, which I need, and then the dithering solenoid, which connects to it some way. I don't understand exactly how that system works, but the two I'll be getting rid of is tab and tad. They are smog related, so these two, just leave them. And these two on the end need to be cleaned up and fixed. So as you can see here, there's some bare wire on both of them, which I don't understand exactly how that deteriorates like that. How is the positives bad and the negatives, or the positives good and the negatives bad? Doesn't make sense, but we're gonna get that fixed. I gotta pull up a schematic for the engine, well, not the engine, but the truck, so I know which wires need power. It's pretty simple. I think just send power to all these, and that'll give the truck power and charge and all that. And then I'm not sure exactly what these two do. I don't remember right off, but I'll look up the wires, figure out the colors. I believe the yellow is horn, and then this one is I don't know, but I'll find out. Get that hooked up, get the harness back on the engine, and hopefully get this thing running here soon. So I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get to it. Okay, I've got updates here. This was laying on top of the engine mount, so I'm in the process of taking the engine mount off so I can get to that freeze plug that just fell out. So it's kind of strange. Gonna get it replaced, and then hopefully when we get this thing running, it's not junk. But I have my suspicions. We'll see. So I went ahead and got the original 73 power steering pump hooked up. Got my lines connected. Had a heck of a time getting that one down there on the steering box connected, but it's all there. All the linkage, all that stuff's good. I gotta tighten the belt yet, but I just happened to see that freeze plug, so I'm gonna get it fixed first, and then we'll continue on hooking things up and whatnot. I don't have too much left to do. Just gotta get this freeze plug fixed and finish up the wiring. I've kind of figured out what I need to do with the wiring. Like I said, I got the harness I kind of fixed some stuff, but yeah, get that all connected, and then hopefully this thing will run. Alright, I got updates. I got the pulley system figured out. Got to put my fan on, and the fan shroud, the factory shroud for the 85 fits pretty good. So I'm gonna just zip tie that in there. Got my cool mounted where the AC was. Kind of laid the wires out. Got all the sensors plugged in. I'm gonna make a hole in the firewall back here and put the computer through it, just like the factory setup would be. Because this truck will probably remain EFI for a while, so I'm just gonna make it the way it's gonna stay, you know. And then I went underneath. I actually had to replace a freeze plug. I believe I showed that in the last clip. It had fallen out, was laying on top of the engine mount, so I put a new freeze plug in. While I was under there, I got the engine mounts bolted down. I got the transmission linkage thing tightened, and I put the speedometer cable in the transmission, so we should have speed, so that'll be good. I've got to hook up the coolant system, got to do the hoses, which, as you can see, this hose does not line up with where it was. I could do that, but then you've got a big kink here and kink there, so that doesn't work. But I'll get that figured out. I've got a stockpile of hoses laying around that I can use. Coolant system, got to get it done. Heater hoses. Then I got to put some spark plugs in it because those are busted from violently removing it from the old truck. Get that taken care of, and then I really want to get this wiring done. I've kind of been stalling on that, but as soon as I get everything else kind of wrapped up, I'll move on to the wiring. So I've got an idea of how to do it. Shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to try and maintain the way it was run by factory. Just kind of merge it into this system, which shouldn't be hard because these trucks are very similar in the way they're set up. I was just looking at the start wiring before I recorded, and I just got to figure out like which one of these goes to which terminal. I got the starter pretty much hooked up. I got my constant power wires hooked up. A couple more things I got to do on that, so I'm gonna keep at it here, and I'll update you once I get something done. Okay, I was just getting my transcooler lines hooked up. This is what I ended up with. I used the factory 85 lines and just bent them in all kinds of funny ways to make them fit. Because originally, here's a better view of this angle. Originally, these lines would have went up on the side of the radiator, but this one's a bottom. So, I went ahead and just wrapped it around the outlet there, coolant outlet, and wrapped it around the coolant outlet and just ran it over for my in and my out, and that should work pretty good. Looks pretty crazy, but that'll do. Alright, I got a couple things done. Went ahead and then got the fan shroud reinforced. It only had 2 zip ties, so I went ahead and just added a couple. And a trick for cutting those off is you just take your pocket knife, pull on the tail, and just shave it right off. You can also use side cutters, but most of the time I've got a pocket knife in my pocket, not my side cutter. So I zip tied it to the radiator, and this is the factory shroud for the 85 truck, and the fan spins good. The fan clutch might be a little loose, but that's another problem for another day. Still got to get my line on my power steering pump, the return line, looks like. I'm going to get the radiator hoses straightened out and then put some heater hoses on it. I might use those, they look kind of rough though. And then we can finally get to the wiring, which I'm kind of not sure how to do. And I left a diagram back at the house, so I'll have to go get that. But let's get these hoses straightened out and get this wiring done. Okay, dug out the stockpile of hoses here. Out of all of these, I should have something that will fit, so I'm gonna test fit a couple and see what I got. Alright, I got my lower hose on finally. I had to make a little coupler there with 2 different hoses because I don't have any hoses that actually fit this truck. I should be able to get some factory hoses because this engine was an option in this truck. So you can see my power steering line or trans cooler lines run around the hose, and they do not touch the hose, so that's good. This is really close to the belt, but as I try and move it around and stuff, it doesn't feel like it's going to hit it. It is a little flat, but it's not fully collapsed, so hopefully won't have any issues with that. Got all the hose clamps tight. There's the that's the power steering cooler there. I've got to hook up that to the reservoir. Haven't done that yet. Couple more things and I'll be done. Just moving along. Here is the upper hose. Two different hoses and another coupling in this one as well. This is a piece of scrap metal aluminum I had laying around. The other one is made out of an exhaust pipe, so we'll see which one holds up better. Eventually I'll get the correct hoses for the truck. I'm doing a budget build, so using what I got here. But now that that's done, I'll do my heater hoses and hook up that reservoir, so I haven't got that done. And we're moving along here. Oh, and I've got an idea for the intake tubes. I'm gonna use the factory air box, see if I can put it over here. I may have to shorten the hoses that go to it, but I've got an idea, so I'll show you when I get there. Okay, I'm just putting the headers, or manifolds back on. This is a budget build, and gaskets are out of the budget, so I've smeared them with red high temp RTV. And I've got some old spark plugs I'm going to reuse because I broke some when I was violently removing the engine. These came out of the engine that was in this truck, and they should work just fine. I cleaned them up best I could. And that is a new starter, but that starter was what we put on this truck the first time we tried to get it going. So I had that laying around. But for the most part, this is a budget build. I have put nothing into it so far. I haven't bought anything for this actual truck yet. So, doing pretty good on the budget side of things. But if you think I need to open up like a Patreon or something, so these budget builds can have a higher budget, let me know. I might consider opening Patreon or doing something else so people can donate, or maybe one of these days I'll do merchandise. That's a really good way to make money and be able to afford to do these projects. So if you think I should do merchandise or Patreon or something, let me know. I might consider it down the road. I still don't even have an official logo. It's just whatever I put on my thumbnails. But yeah, leave a comment, like, whatever. But I'm going to get these on before that dries and move on to the next side. Alright, it's getting kind of late here. I got the work light. I'm going to go ahead and get these this manifold on. These spark plugs looked pretty decent from what I could see. Not bad. I mean, it was running pretty decent. One of them mismatched, but that'll be fine. Don't think it'll be a problem because the other side has basically all of them mismatched. I did get that manifold on. Looks pretty good in there. Got to get I've got some spark plug wires here that there they are. They were heavily damaged in the pull when I pulled the engine, so I got some old spark plug wires in there that I'm gonna try to rebuild. I'll show you the process in that. You can actually take these boots off and then re-crimp the metal piece in there, and it'll save you a couple dollars on plugs. Getting the boots off is the main thing, but I'll show that later on when I get around to doing it. For tonight, I'm just going to throw this manifold on, and then I'll come back tomorrow and we will do wiring. I've been really holding off on it, but I've gotten like everything else. I'm like 90% of the way. 10% is just wiring. I'll get that manifold on, probably throw the intake on because I've got an idea for that. I want to see if it works. So get that done tonight, and then tomorrow do some wiring. So I'll see you then. Okay, got most of the wiring stuff straightened out here. Just use some spade connectors, whatever. That'll be ignition system. I still got to get the computer power stuff, and then I don't know what that does. Got my charging system spliced in from one harness to the other. A couple other things like that done. Just got to get the key system or computer system, whatever, powered it for the relay. But anyway, I forgot to put the crossover pipe for the smog back on after I took everything apart. So what I've done is made a couple of these little plates. So I'm just going to go ahead and bolt those on, cover them in red RTV, and I've got some really short bolts. The problem I've got is the back of the heads. I've only got so much space on the driver's side. Passenger side's a little better, but driver's side's only got so much space. So I'm going to bolt these things in there best I can. Should go that way actually. But I'll get these bolted in, siliconed up, and that'll take care of that. We're coming along. I figured out how I'm going to do the air box. I've still got to put that in there, but for now I'm just kind of keeping it out of the way while I get everything straightened out here. Got to make my hole for the computer go inside the cab and connect all the grounds to the back of the engine there. Then I'll figure out the fuel system and the throttle cable, because this had a rod originally, not a cable. So I got to figure out how to get a cable to go from up here where that's not supposed to be. Get a cable from here over to back there where the throttle arm is. I think I'm going to build a bracket off of these two studs. There's one here and one there behind the regulator, or fuel pressure regulator. I think I'm going to try and build a bracket off of that and then run my cable off of there up to whatever here, and then somehow up to here. I'm going to try and use what I've got, so it'll probably have a big loop in it. But as long as I can get a throttle working, I'll be alright. This is the TV cable for the trans. I've got it hooked up. I had it adjusted, but it's missing a screw in this plate here for whatever reason. So I've got to get that back in and bolt it down properly. And like I said, get my grounds hooked up and get that computer in there. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll give you an update when I get something done. Okay, making progress. I made a throttle cable bracket thing. The airbox used to mount right there above the valve cover. I made this bracket so I could mount the throttle cable. Bent up a piece of metal and used one of those cable clamps to clamp the cable to the piece of metal pipe thing, and then that just runs to the factory throttle linkage thing. Might need to get my cable for the TV cable out of the way. I didn't realize that was underneath that. But that's the throttle linkage for now. I do get full throttle. It's a little stiff because the geometry is not correct, but it works. So that's good. That's all I've gotten done. What else? I need to make a hole in the firewall now and put this big cable through it and get all that stuff connected and all that. So I'm gonna do that next, I believe. Also still need to get my computer power stuff, relays and whatnot, key on, power and all that. I've got the ignition side, I just gotta get the computer side of things, which the issue that I've got is I know what these two wires do. I got key start and then I got key on, and then this one here, I'm not sure what it does, so it's this top one there. No idea what that does, but I'll figure it out. I've got the schematic, so I need to get that done and need to get the vacuum stuff, so I'm gonna keep at it here. Alright, got my computer connector plug through the firewall, and that looks pretty factory if you ask me. I broke off all of those vacuum lines earlier. I've got to fix that, but that's another day. That's all I was able to get done this weekend. I think I'm going to end this video here. Alright, if you want to see me get this truck running and driving, stay tuned for the next episode. This was just a weekend project kind of thing. My next video will be on the Cherokee. I've got my lift kit in. It finally came in, so I'll be working on that all of next week and hopefully have a video out pretty soon on it. I'm going to try and do like a how-to of putting on a lift kit. Really be my first time doing anything like that, but I've done plenty of suspension work, so shouldn't be too bad. But that's it for this video. We'll see you guys in the next one, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.